Boom! Ha ha ha! I'm Thundercloud and I'm loud. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night. It's Chillin' Tuesday, and everything is all right. Tonight, I'm going to be, well, it's tonight here. I'm going to be focusing on Henry Lawson, 1897 poetry. But I've got a big surprise for you at the end. I've been collating my own poetry, and it's come to a lot. In fact, my 2019 poetry, that is. I've published my 17, 18 poetry in some books, and you can check them out there on Amazon, or you can buy them directly from me. Just send me a message. Love in Nimbin, Lust in Nimbin, Poetry to End Prohibition, and Jan Bung's Peaceful Protest in Nimbin. That was my 2018 poetry, Jan Bung's Peaceful Protest. Well, I've collated and edited all of my 2019 poetry, and it's come to over 900 pages. Like, really, 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 really. This is Henry Lawson's half of his life's work. It's 900 pages. So I did that in 1 year. But this year I haven't been so prolific, and it sort of like worried me a bit, but it doesn't, because I see when I look at the years here that some years he wrote more and some years he wrote less. So that's okay. Anyway, I'm going to get on with it and start. Well, I did read some of this last week. I'm going to continue with the rest of his 1897 poetry now. And the first one we've got, and look, here's a picture of him so you can see what he looks like. There you go, there's Henry for you. This is the writer. Isn't he a handsome man? Yeah. All right. This one's called The Green Hand Rouseabout. Call this hot? I beg your pardon, hot. You don't know what it means. What's that, waiter? Lamb or mutton? Thank you. Mine is beef and greens. Bread and butter while I'm waiting? Milk? Oh yes, a bucket full. I'm just from West the Darling, picking up and rolling all. Mutton? Stewed or chops for breakfast, dry and tasteless, boiled in fat. Bread or brownie, tea or coffee, 2 hours graft in front of that. Legs of mutton boiled for dinner, mutton greasy warm for tea, mutton curried, gave my order, beef, and plenty of greens for me. Breakfast, curried rice, and mutton till your innards sacrifice, and you sicken at the colour of the smell of curried rice all day long with living mutton bits and belly wool and fleece, blinded by the yoke of wool and shirt and trousers stiff with grease, till you long for sight of verdure, cabbage plots and water clear, and you crave for beef and butter as booze craves for beer. Dusty patch in baking mulga, glaring iron hut and shed, feel and smell of rain forgotten, water scarce and grass dead, hot and suffocating sunrise all pervading, sheepyard smell, stiff and aching, green hand stretches, slushy rings the bullock bell. Pint of tea and hunk of brownie, sinners string towards the shed, great black greasy crows round carcass, screen behind a dust cloud red. Engine whistles, go it tigers, and the agony begins, picking up for 7 devils out of Hades, for my sins. Picking up for 7 devils, 7 demons out of hell, sell their souls to get the bell sheep, 6 Christs they'd sell. Day grows hot as where they come from, too damned hot for men or brutes. Roof or corrugated iron, 6'6" above the chutes. Whiz and rattle and vibration like an endless chain of trams. Blasphemy and 45, prickly heat and stink of rams. Baku leaves his pen door open and the sheep come bucking out. When the Rousers goes to pen them, Baku blasts the Rouseabout. Injury with insult added, trial of our cursing powers, cursed and cursing back enough to damn a dozen worlds like ours. Take my combs down to the grinder, will you? Seen my cattle pup? There's a sheep fell down in my chute. Just jump down and pick it up. Give the office when the boss comes. Catch that gory sheep, old man. Count the sheep in my pen, will you? Fetch my combs back when you can. When you get a chance, old fella, will you pop down to the hut? Fetch my pipe, the cook will show you, and I'll let you have a cut. Shearer yells for tar and needle, ringers roaring like a bull. Wool away, you son of angels, where's the hell's the foundling wool? Pound a week and station prices, mustn't kick against the pricks. 7 weeks of lurid mateship, ruined soul, and £4.6. What's that? Waiter, me, stuffed mutton? Look here, waiter, to be brief, I said beef, you blood-stained villain. Beef, moo cow, roast bullock, beef. It sounds like he'd been missing his beef with all of that mutton he'd been living on as a shearer for 6 weeks. The next one's called A Little Mistake. 'Tis a yarn I heard of a new chum trap on the edge of the Never Never, where the dead men lie and the black men lie and the bushman lies forever. 'Twas the custom still with the local blacks to cage in the altogether. They had less respect for our feelings then and more respect for the weather. The trooper said to the sergeant's wife, sure, I wouldn't seem unpleasant, but there's women and children about the place, and barring a lady's present. There's old King Billy with never a stitch, for a month may the drought cremate him, bar the one we put in his dirty head, where his old Queen Mary bate him. God give her strength and a peaceful reign, though she flies in a bit of passion, and only one hits that stoilen looks her trifle beyond the fashion. There's 2 of the boys by the stable now be the powers I'll teach the varmints to come with naught but a shirt apiece and with dirt for their nether garments. Hold on, you blackguards, how dare ye dare to come with sight of the houses? I'll give you one and all for once and a couple of old pair of trousers. They took the pants as a child a toy, the constable's words beguiling, a smile of something beside their joy, and they took their departures smiling. And that very day when the sun was low, 2 blackfellows came to the station. They were filled with the courage of Queensland rum and bursting with indignation. The constable noticed, growing with ire, they'd apparently dressed in a hurry, and their language that day, I'm sorry to say, mostly consisted of plurry. The constable heard, and he wished himself back in the land of the bogs and the ditches. Ye plurry big tight breeches, policeman, for what? Ye glibbit our breeches, missus? And this was the case, I'm bound to confess, where civilization went under. Had one of the gins been less modest in dress, he'd never have made such a blunder. And here let the moral be duly made known, and hereafter signed and attested. We should place more reliance on that which is shown, and less upon what is suggested. He must have forgot to do his zipper up. Funny. A little mistake. This one is the boss over the board. Now, we've got a few events coming up here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame over the next week and a bit. Well, next week on the 27th of March, we've got Gwyn Ashton coming with his Mojosoul tour. You can find tickets and more about the event in the description below, or over there if you're on YouTube, on your iPad, whatever. It's somewhere around here. And also we've got Fiori Musicale, yes, the Armadale Chamber Choir's coming here on the 6th of April with Treasures from the Baroque, and then Songs from the Porch of Life with Geoff, Paull and Pam Hata coming all the way from Kyoga Way, and that will be a fantastic entertaining show too. Songs in the Round, a Nashville style evening of music and song. It'll be fantastic. So check out all the events below. If you'd like to, you can also donate to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame by PayPal below in the link, or you can send Bitcoin or Ethereum or cryptocurrencies. The links are all down there anyway. And off we go. The boss over the board. When he's over a rough and unpopular shed, with the sins of the bank and the men on his head, when he mustn't look black or indulge in a grin, and 30 or 40 men hate him like sin. I move to admit, when the total is scored, that it's just a bit off for the boss of the board. I have battled a lot, but my dreams never soared to the lonely position of boss of the board. 'Twas a blacklisted shed down the Darling. The boss was a small man to see, though a big man to cross. We had naught to complain of except what we thought, and the boss didn't boss any more than he ought. But the union was booming and the brotherhood soared, so we hated like poison the boss of the board. We could tolerate hands, we respected the cook, but the name of a boss was a blot in our book. He'd a row with Big Duggan, a rough sort of Jim, or rather Jim Duggan was laying for him. His hate of injustice and greed was so deep that his shearing grew rough and he ill-used the sheep. And I fancied that Duggan his manliness lowered when he took off his shirt to the boss of the board. For the boss was 10 stone and the shearer full grown, and he might have said, they said, let the crawler alone. Though some of us there wished the fight to the strong, yet we knew in our hearts that the shearer was wrong. And the crawler was plucky, it can't be denied, for he had to fight freedom and justice. But he came up so gamely, as often as flawed, that a blackleg stood up for the boss of the board. And the fight was a sight. And we pondered that night. It's surprising how some of those blacklegs can fight. Next day at the office, when sadly the wreck of Jim Duggan came up like a lamb for his cheque, said the boss, don't be childish, it's all past and gone. I'm short of good shearers, you'd better stay on. And we fancied Jim Duggan, our dignity lowered when he stopped to a oblige a damned boss of the board. We said nothing to Jim, for a joke might be grim, and the subject we saw was distasteful to him. The boss just went on as he'd done from the first, and he favoured Big Duggan no more than the worst. And when we'd cut out and the steamer came down with the hawkers and spielers to take us to town, and we all got abroad, 'twas Jim Duggan, good Lord, who yelled 3 cheers for the boss of the board. 'Twas a bit off, no doubt, and with freedom about, but a lot is forgot when a shed is cut out. With freedom of contract maintained in his shed, and the curse of the children have lied on his head, he's apt to long sadly for sweetheart or wife, and his views be inclined to the dark side of life. The truth must be spread and the cause must be shored, but it's just a bit rough for the boss of the board. I'm all for the right, but perhaps out of sight, as a son or a husband or a father, his wife. Interesting. The next one, the boss's boots. Now don't forget, the Australian Poetry Film Festival is now taking submissions on filmfreeway.com. And we've got 3 categories this year: Best Australian Poetry Film, Best Australian Bush Poetry Film, and Best Student Poetry Film. So check it out. Links are in the description. Don't forget, while you're down there, click on the like and also the subscribe and the notification bells. Ding ding. Ha. Yeah, whatever. The Boss's Boots by Henry Lawson. The shearers squint along the pens. They squint along the chutes. The shearers squint along the board to catch the boss's boots. They have no time to straighten up, they have no time to stare, but when the boss is looking on, they like to be aware. The rouser has no soul to save, condemn the rouseabout, and sling 'em in or rip 'em in through, and get the bell sheep out, and skin it by the tips at times and take it with the roots. But pink 'em nice and pretty when you see the boss's boots. The shearing super sprained his foot, as bosses sometimes do, and wore until the shed was cut, one spring side and one shoe. And though he changed his pants at times, some wore out and some neat, no tiger could possibly mistake the boss's feet. The boss affected larger boots than many Western men, and Jim the Ringer swore the shoe was half as big again. And tigers might have heard the boss ere any harm was done, for when he passed it was a sort of dot and carry one. But now there comes a picker-up who sprained his ankle too, and limping round the shed he found the boss's cast-off shoe. He went to work all legs and arms as green hand rousers will, and never dreamed of boss's boots, much less of Brogan Bill. Ye sons of sin, the tramp and shearing, hot and dusty scrubs, just keep away from heading 'em, and keep away from pubs, and keep 'em away from handicaps, for so you're sugar scoots, and you may own a station yet and wear the boss's boots. And Bogan, by his mate, was heard to mutter through his hair, the boss has got a rat today, he's bucking everywhere. He's tramming for a bike, I think, the way he comes and scoots. He's like a bloomin' cat on mud, and the way he shifts his boots. Now, Bogan Bill was shearing rough and chanced to cut a tit. He stuck his leg in front at once and slewed the ewe a bit. He hurried up to get her through when close beside his chute he saw a large and ancient shoe in mateship with a boot. He thought that he'd be fined all right, he couldn't turn the yo, The more he wished the boss away, the more he wouldn't go, and Bogan swore amenfully. Beneath his breath he swore. He was never known to pink so prettily before. And Bogan, through his bristling scalp, in mind's eye could trace the cold sarcastic smile that lurked about the boss's face. He cursed him with a silent curse in language known to few. He cursed him from his boot right up and then down to his shoe. Then swiftly to the features from a plaited greenhide belt, you'd have to wring a shed or two to feel as Bogan felt. For 'twas his green hand picker up who wore a vacant look, and Bogan saw the boss outside, consulting with his cook. And Bogan Bill was hurt and mad to see the rouseabout, and Bogan laid his Wolseley down and knocked that rouser out, and knocked him right across the board. He tumbled out through the chute. I'll learn the fool, said Bogan Bill, and flash the boss's boot. The rouser squints along the pens, he squints along the chutes, and gives his men the office when they miss the boss's boots. They have no time to straighten up, they're too well bred to stare, but when the boss is looking on, they like to be aware. The rouser has no soul to lose, it's blast the rouseabout, and rip 'em through and yell for tar, and get the bell sheep out, and take it with the scrum at times, or take it with the roots, but pink 'em nice and pretty when you see the boss's boots. The Boss's Boots by Henry Lawson. When the ladies come to the shearing-shed. The ladies are a-comin', the super says to the shearers swelting there. The ladies means in the shearing-shed, don't cut 'em too bad, don't swear. The ghost of a pause in the shed's rough heart, and the lower is bowed each head, and nothing is heard save a whispered word and the roar of the shearing-shed. The tall, shy rouser has lost his wits, and his limbs are all astray. He leaves a fleece on the shearing board and his broom in the shearer's way. There's a curse in store for that jackaroo as down by the wall he slants, as the ringer bends with his legs askew and wishes he'd patched his pants. They are girls from the city, our hearts rebel as we squint their dainty feet, and they gush and say in a girly way, oh, that dear little lambs are sweet. And Bill, the ringer, who'd scorn the use of childish word like damn, would give a pound that his tongue was loose as he tackles a lively lamb. Swift thoughts of homes in the coastal towns, or rivers and waving grass, and weight of our hearts that we cannot define that comes as the ladies pass, but the rouser ventures to nervous dig in the ribs of the next to him, and Baroque says to his penmate, twig, the style of the last and Jim. Jim Moonlight gives her a careless glance, then he catches his breath with pain. His strong hand shakes and the sunlights dance as he bends to his work again. But he's well disguised in a bristling beard, bronze skin and his shearer's dress, and whatever Jim Moonlight hoped or feared were hard for his mates to guess. Jim Moonlight, wiping his broad white brow, explains with a doleful smile. A stitch in the side and he's all right now, but he leans on the beam a while and gazes out in the blazing noon on the clearing brown and bare. She is come and gone like a breath of June in December's heat and glare. The bushmen are big, rough boys at the best, with hearts of a larger growth, but they hide those hearts with a brutal jest and the pain with a reckless oath. Though the Bills and Jims of the bush bards sing of their love lives, lost or dead. The love of a girl is a sacred thing, not a voice in a shearing shed. The Drovers is the next one by Henry Lawson. Shrivelled leather, rain buckles, and the rot is in our knuckles. Scorched for months upon the pommel while the brittle rain hung free. Shrunken eyes that once were lighted with fresh boyhood, dull and blighted, and sores upon our eyelids that are unpleasant to see. And our hair is thin and dying from the ends with too long lying in the night dews on the ashes of the dry country. Yes, we've seen them bleaching whitely where the salt bush sparkles brightly, but their gins were over friendly, so we passed and let 'em be. And we've seen 'em rather recent, and we've stopped to hide 'em decent. When they weren't nice to handle, they weren't nice to see. We have heard the dry bones rattle under 1,500 cattle, seen the rags go up in dust clouds and brittle joints kicked free. But there's little time to tarry if you wish to live and marry, when the cattle shy at something in the dry country. No, you needn't fear the blacks on the Never Never tracks, for the mile and his freedom's an uncommon sight to see. Oh, we do not stick at trifles, and the trackers sneak their rifles, and we go strolling in the gloaming while the sergeant's yarning free. Round the miles creak the trackers, there's a sound like firing crackers, and the blacks are getting scarcer in the dry country. Goes an unprotected maiden across the clearing carrion laden. Oh, they ride 'em down on horseback in the dry country. But you don't know what might happen when a tank is but a trap on roofs of hell, and there is nothing but the blaze of hell to see, and the phantom waters lapping, and no limb for saddle strapping. Better carry your revolver through the dry country. But I'm feeling gay and frisky, come with me and have a whiskey. Change of hells is all we live for, that's my mate that's got DT. We have fought through hell's own weather, he and I in death together. Oh, the devil grins to greet us from the dry country. This is the lights of Cobb and Co. About the old Cobb and Co horse-drawn coaches. Fire lighted on the table, a meal for sleepy men. A lantern in the stable, a jingle now and then. The mail coach looming darkly by the light of moon and star. A growl of sleepy voices, a candle in the bar. A stumble in the passage of folk with wits abroad, a swear word from a bedroom, a shout of, all aboard! Ch-chick, get up, hold fast there, and down the range we go. 500 miles of scattered camps, we'll watch for Cobb and Co. Old coach towns, already decaying for their sins, uncounted halfway houses and scores of 10-mile inns. The riders from the stations by lonely granite peaks, the black boy for the shepherds on sheep and cattle creeks, the roaring camps of Gulgong, and many a digger's rest, the diggers on the Lachlan and the huts of further west. Some 20,000 exiles who sailed for weal or woe, the bravest hearts of 20 lands will wait for Cobb and Co. The morning star has vanished. The frost and fog are gone. In one of those grand mornings which but on the mountains dawn. A flask of friendly whiskey, each other's hopes we share. We throw our topcoats open to drink the mountain air. The roads are rare to travel, and life seems all complete. The grind of wheels on gravel, the trot of horses' feet. The trot, trot, trot and canter as down the spur we go. The green sweeps to horizons blue that call for Cobb and Co. We take a bright girl actress through western dust and damps to bear the homeworld message and sing for sinful camps, to wake the hearts and break them, wild hearts and hope and ache. Ah, when she thinks of those days, her own must nearly break. 5 miles this side the goldfield, a loud triumphant shout. 500 cheering diggers have snatched the horses out. With Auld Lang Syne in chorus through the war-roaring camps they go, that cheer for her and cheer for home and cheer for Cobb and Co. 3 lamps above the ridges and gorges dark and deep, a flash on sandstone cuttings where sheer the sidings sweep, a flash on shrouded wagons on water, ghastly white, weird bush and scattered remnants of rushes in the night. Across the swollen river, a flash beyond the ford. Ride hard to warn the driver, he's drunk or mad, good Lord. But on the bank to westward, a broad triumphant glow. 100 miles shall see tonight the lights of Cobb and Co. Swift scramble up the siding where teams climb inch by inch, pause, bird-like, on the summit, then breakneck down the pinch. Past haunted halfway houses where convicts made the bricks, scrub yards and new bark structures. We dash with 5 and 6 by clear ridge country rivers and gaps where tracks run high, where waits the lonely horseman, clear cut against the sky. Through stringy bark and blue gum and box and pine we go. New camps are stretching across the plains, the roots of Cobb and Co. Throw down the reins, old driver, there's no one left to shout. The ruins in survivor must take the horses out. A poor old coach hereafter, we're lost to all such things. No bursts of song or laughter shall shake your leathern springs. When creeping in unnoticed by railway sidings drear, or left in yards for lumber, decaying with the year. Oh, who'll think how in those days when distant fields were broad, you raced across the Lachlan side with 25 on board. Not all the ships that sail away since roaring days are done, not all the boats that steam from port, nor all the trains that run, shall take such hopes and loyal hearts, for men shall never know such days as when the Royal Mail was run by Cobb and Co. The greyhounds race across the sea, the special cleaves the haze. But these seem dull and slow to me compared with roaring days. The eyes that watched are dim with age, and souls are weak and slow. The hearts are dust or hardened now, that broke for Cobb and Co. And that is it for Henry Lawson's 1897 poetry, and there is no more in here because then I would get on to 1898, which we'll be doing next week. I'm pretty sure that's it. Yep, that's it. We're done. Now, I did promise you something really special. Well, as I said earlier, I've been collating my 2019 poetry, and it's come to 900 pages. So I've been debating and discussing with my friends, what am I going to do about that? Will I publish it as 2 books of like 450 pages, or 1 book of 900 pages, or 1 book of children's poetry, or just the children's books, or quotes, or select good poems? I don't know. I really don't. And I'm going to read you some of it now, and starting very early in the year. Could have been like, well, the first one was thanks to Vince, because it was just a thanks to Vincent Stead, one of the hardest working poets in the Northern Rivers area up there around Nimbin, Lismore area, organises the Kyogo or the Wooden Bong Poets breakfasts and stuff like that. Lots of stuff. He's a hard worker. He's a good follower. He's a good poet too. Very good. One of these, this one's called Ice, and it's dedicated to Nicolette Papadopoulos of the Nimbin Oasis, who asked me to write something to reclaim the word ice as the meaning for our sacred water and the source of all life. Reclaim it from those who use it for methamphetamine. There's this stuff that's pure and crystalline, frozen water's called ice. Cools you on a hot day, makes you feel nice. Ice is a frozen snowflake, hail and an igloo. But methamphetamine should be called brain-frying glue. I was walking down the street with a bag of party ice. He joked, "Get out of town, we don't want you dealing ice." It made me feel sad that our water, clean and pure, is now the slang for crystal meth. A poison, that's for sure. Because water gives you energy and cleans you out, that's sure. But crystal meth fries your brain and is so impure. I went along my way and added water to my ice, drank it up and cooled down. I was feeling nice. A thirsty stranger came along with a thirsty daughter. I poured them both a glass of ice with cold water. After one sip, both their eyes lit up. We are feeling better with ice water in our cup. I am feeling great and I am no longer feeling down. My daughter drank your icy water, no longer wears a frown. You hear that there's certain people in New South Wales who are corrupt and dealing meth. They have ulterior motives to addict the youth to death. Some things will soon be legalised, like cannabis, and the cops are worried about KPIs, so dealing meth will keep them in unemployment and prisons full. That's why they're dealing death. We can end the prohibition, minimise the harm, and then the coppers will not need to search and twist your arm. If we end drug prohibition across the nation, we get rid of corrupt coppers and 80% of the prison population. Make access to drugs a right, make it safe and clean as water falling from the sky and snowflakes so pristine. Let's all stop the drug war and those people dealing death and claim the word ice once more for frozen water and not crystal meth. You know, that was a bit clunky, wasn't it? In the middle. Yeah, could do with improvement. Here's one. So this was called Simonetta Smiles, and it's based on, there's a sign in Nimbin in a cafe which read, "Be happy, be so happy that when others look at you, they become happy too." So I'm sitting there and I see someone sitting alone and looking kind of neutral. So I smile and wave, and she smiles and waves with a big happy smile. See? So then I begin to write this poem. Give a little smile to someone looking blue. A friendly smile with crinkling eyes that says, "I care for you." When you're looking happy and never wear a frown, you lift others' spirits up and help them feel less down. Give a friendly smile to someone sitting alone to make them feel warm and happy in your home. Wear a happy smile so when others look at you, they're infected by your smile and become more happy too. There you go. Ooh, here we go. This one's called Bug in the Machine. And the background to this one, I was on my laptop, and this tiny little crawly bug crawled out of the keyboard. And I was like, oh, there's a bug in my machine. I have a bug inside my laptop. There may be more than one. It's tiny and brown. It came out for a little run. It came out from my keyboard and ran across my touchpad. Went in a crack beside my left click button. I thought I was going mad. I have a bug inside my laptop. It has these little mites eating bits inside my laptop. They are taking megabytes. I don't know what to do. Bugs are laughing, doing shits. There are bugs inside my laptop. They're leaving giggle bits. There's a bug inside my laptop. What I'm telling you is true. Laying eggs inside the motherboard, ramming my CPU. There you go. The bug in the machine, that one's called. Freddie Fairy. Fairy dance. The Irish fairy dance. Freddie Fairy went walking one day into the forest. He was happy and gay. Freddie Fairy walked all about and he danced. And that's the end of it. Maybe it needs editing. Modern dinosaur. I am certain and I am sure that a bush turkey is a kind of modern dinosaur. Both of them lay eggs and have powerful long legs. My opinion is not redacted. A bush turkey head is like a pterodactyl. Pterodactyl and bush turkeys fly. Bush turkey's dad's a modern guy building mounds and hatching eggs. Both have sharp claws on their legs. Imagine how loud you'd need to shout at a dinosaur scratching your veggie garden out. Get out, you big dinosaur! Get out of my garden! Something like that. Yeah. Well, alright. Well, that is it for tonight on Chillin' Tuesday. I'm Thundercloud. Thank you very much for joining me tonight here on Chillin' Tuesday. It's been a lovely night. And I will see you tomorrow night here for Wednesday Words from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. See you later. Cool.